Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name is David Collins, and I have had an interesting career. I've gotten a chance to do a lot of different things. I've worked in small companies, I've worked in large companies, I've been an entrepreneur, and presently I'm the owner of my own training and development company where I specialize in the area of social intelligence. And so what I'm here to talk to you about today is getting back on the horse after a fall. So I've heard a lot of stories today about people that have shared a lot of their failures and their personal challenges. I just want to take a minute to recognize all those people that did that, because that's very brave. And Rajiv and Matt, if you're still looking for a picture of failure, somebody can take my snapshot and put it up there. So by the time we get through, we can get started there. So what is it that we're going to talk about today? All right, let's see if I got that going the right direction. So what we're going to talk about today is a couple different things. As we've already seen through all the great presentations, life is full of nothing if not speed bumps. Whether for us as individuals, whether for us as employees, whether for us as managers or entrepreneurs, or for us as entrepreneurs. And some of those speed bumps are small, some of them are big, and quite honestly, some of them hurt. So I'm going to start off sharing with you a little personal story for myself about one of those speed bumps that I hit that hurt. And the interesting thing to me is I thought I knew a lot about myself. Turns out I didn't quite know as much about myself as I thought, because it hurt and I didn't quite realize how much it hurt at the time and what a long-term impact it had on me. I'm going to move from that and talk to us a little bit about resilience, which is really some of the skill that we're talking about here today. So we're talking about failure and how do we move on from failure? How do we get through that? So I want to define for the group a little bit about what resilience is and talk about why it's so important for all of us in the room, for entrepreneurs, for intrapreneurs, and everybody that's here. And most importantly, I want to take us into getting some usable tools out of here so we can all do one or two things that help us improve our individual resilience when we get going. So Rajiv told me I had a very advanced group. This is about 4 hours worth of material. So we're going to get through it in 20. So everybody buckle up. All right? All right. So I know a little bit about learning theory. We're not going to learn sitting down, nor are we going to get back on the horse after sitting down. I need everybody to stand up. See, you thought I was going to do all the work. This is an interactive session. So I want you to repeat after me here a little bit, but first I want you to look at my body posture. I want everybody to kind of lean forward a little bit. I want you to slump your shoulders down. I want you to look at the floor. And then I want you to repeat after me. So I'll say it once and then you can say it. I'm excited about learning some incredibly valuable skills to help me improve my resilience. Ready? I'm excited to learn some incredibly valuable skills to help me improve my resilience. Oh boy, we're going to need to work on that a little bit as a group, I think. It's a good thing I'm here. That didn't quite feel right, did it, in that body posture? Because what you were trying to do with your brain was different than where your body was kind of stationed. So I want to try that again for a second. I want everybody to get their feet, shoulders apart. I want them to get their hands on their hips, chest out, shoulders back. Repeat after me. I'm excited about learning some incredibly valuable skills to help me improve my resilience. I'm excited about help me improve my resilience. Hey, awesome, much better, guys. So look at this, we're 3 minutes in and you just learned something to help you with your resilience. See, most of the time our bodies follow our brain. You ever hear about verbal and nonverbal communication? Most communication is done non-verbally, so what's on your brain actually comes out through your body posture. And so when you're sitting like this and you're trying to be positive, it doesn't quite work so well. But when you're like this and you try to be positive, it's very different. So most of the time the brain controls the body, but the trick to it all is you can use your body to control your brain. So when you're able to stand up upright and do this, you're assuming something that Amy Cuddy from Harvard would talk about being a power pose. And doing a power pose actually changes the physiology of your body. It begins to release testosterone in your body. It also begins to reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It actually puts you in a better position to be more positive about it. So next time you're having a challenging moment, stand up and do this. I don't recommend it on an airplane like I'm going to be doing on the way home tonight, but it's worthwhile to give it a try. So everybody can sit down and relax. I'm going to do most of the work for the rest of the way, but not all of it. All right, this is a dangerous slide because a couple of the people in this room know me. What do the snake and I have in common? Yeah, we might have both been doing a couple too many power poses. And I know a few of you know me from my sales career, so please, no jokes. So you know who knows me. So what do the snake and I have in common? Well, as I was preparing for this event, literally last week, I'm typically one of the last people out of my office. And so the woman who left right before me waved goodnight and walked to the door. And this is the main door to her office, and she screamed. And I came running up and said, what in the heck's going on? And I expected to see a dead mouse or something, right? No, this was a snake, and if you get a close look, I'd tell you it's a rattlesnake. Some other people might not say that, but I think it was a rattlesnake, and the thing was 10 feet long. No, it was about 4 feet long, right? But this snake, the way our door works, it opens, and then the door closes over about 25 seconds. So somebody left the office, and the door closed behind him. So in 20 seconds, this little entrepreneur decided the greener field was inside, and he was going for it. But like the rest of us, he hit a speed bump. It was called a door. And I guarantee you this one probably hurt because he was just a little bit crushed. So we didn't know what to do with this snake. And so I got a broom. She opened up the door a little bit. The snake crawled right away when we opened it and went backwards. Fortunately, I don't think it was too hurt because it kind of sprung back and went right to the safety back of its nest. And so hopefully he'll learn some resiliency skills, but when he does, he'll go do it on somebody else's door, not ours. So what do the snake and I have in common? Great question. I hope we don't look too much alike. But there was a time in my life where I was young, and I got an opportunity to work for an entrepreneur after having been in big companies and small companies. And so as part of it, I got to know him through an investor and got to join the company. And so I got to do some really special things. Honestly, I was too young and dumb to know better. So I said, I want you to go sell a couple $1 million. I did. Said, I want you to go open up a Detroit office. Did that too. I want you to run the global sales organization. I did that too. He went and said, we're going to try to go public. I need you to double sales in the next 12 months. No problem. How large do you want them to be? It was a great run. I was very successful. I learned a lot about myself. But as happens with all great things, what happens to them? They come to an end. Well, this one did too eventually, and we sold the company. And so when the company got sold, I decided I didn't want to go along for the ride with the new organization. And I'm a hotshot, so I was just going to keep going forward from there. So I went to another entrepreneurial venture. Happened to be, both of those were here in Minneapolis. I'm presently living in Denver, Colorado. And when I got there, I was relatively successful, but something was very, very different. The culture of this organization was one that was more driven from fear than it was one that was driven from positivity, and that's not exactly who I am. And so I went about in there doing my job. I hired my team, some of my friends from the past and some others. And even though we had success, about 6 months into the job, I got a tap on the shoulder from the CFO. And the CFO said, David, love you. You're not going to work here. What do you mean? He says, the CEO doesn't like what you're doing to the culture. This is not the place that she wants it to be. You're going to leave. Let's negotiate how. And so I sat down in that office with them. We negotiated how, and I put together an exit package. And for me, I knew that hurt, but I didn't quite know how much that hurt. So I'm a father. I had 3 young kids. And so I went out and said, and I can remember saying this to myself in my head, you know what? I'm tired. After having done the whole entrepreneurial thing, the one company, doing this next company, I said, you know what? I've had enough. I actually use this word, which to me, people are still shocked, but I'm looking for a safe harbor. So I went and joined a big company. I went and I moved myself to Denver, Colorado, a training and development company. And so things started going pretty well. I got to rest a little bit. I was successful there too. And then about 2 years in, an opportunity came up for me. Great job, leading about a $100 million sales organization, had to move to Baltimore. Went through the process, went to the interview and said, yeah, not for me. I said, I just moved my family once, I don't want to do it again. And so I passed on it, and I didn't really think twice about it. About 2 years later, another opportunity came up in my life. This was a company that was exactly in my sweet spot. It was an entrepreneurial company, it was a startup, it was a learning company, it was a technology company. It was all about taking medical simulations into e-learning, into the training world for the rest of us. And so what ended up happening is I went through the interview process, and the job was basically mine. I just had to get on an airplane to go to Israel to sign off on it. And I called the recruiter and said, I don't want to go. And she said, what? After we've invested all this time in you? I said, no, something doesn't feel right. I don't want to go. So I didn't. And so I didn't get that job. And it turns out about 4 months ago, that company was just sold for $120 million. So it was a real job and a good job. But don't feel too bad for me, because shortly after that time, I kept asking myself the question, why did I do that? What's wrong with me? This isn't David. Who is this guy that's there? And what I realized after spending some time thinking about it is that that speed bump that I hit, that tap on the shoulder, hurt me at the time, but I didn't really realize how much. And that stuck with me for a while. And so that stuck with me, and I didn't get over it. And so what I had really developed at that point was a fear of failure. It wasn't that I didn't want to go to Baltimore. It wasn't I didn't want to have that job. It was I was safe and secure, and I didn't want to fail. And when I realized that, my life started to change again. So don't feel bad for me. I missed out on that opportunity, but that's one. But lo and behold, about 2 years later after that, I worked for a big company that decided they were going to split everything up. It was a company called Reed Elsevier. They owned LexisNexis and a number of other organizations. And so when they did, I got an opportunity to buy my company with 2 other partners. So what I do at that point in time, I wasn't afraid to fail. Signed over my kids' college funds, my life savings, my house, signed a gigantic note, and I jumped whole hog in, and I've never been happier. And the company's been going great. So one of the things to remember is even though that you have things that happen to you, sometimes if you don't deal with it, sometimes you don't address it, it sticks with you a long time. So what do this guy and I have in common? We both got hurt. He went back to his nest. I went back to mine. But I've since stepped back through the door, and like I said before, I hope he goes back through somebody else's door, not mine. All right? So, we're going to talk a little bit about what is resilience. What does resilience mean? So most people define resilience as really the opportunity to bounce back from challenges, right? How do I survive it? How do I get through it? How do I just live with those types of things? But I want to challenge the thinking of this group. It's not about how do I survive resiliency, or how do I survive the challenge. It's not only about how do I bounce back, but it's how do I bounce forward. If you listen to some of the great stories that we've had today, it wasn't just about the challenge and getting back to the status quo. It was about what did people learn from it and how do they apply that knowledge. And there's a wonderful opportunity to find growth for each and every one of us. So, why does resiliency matter? So, who do you think studies entrepreneurs the absolute most in the world? Kauffman Foundation. And who else? Well, you can't say their spouses because that doesn't count either, or significant others. But if you look at entrepreneurs, it's so many times venture capitalists know us better than we know ourselves. And I thought this quote was an absolute great one. The best entrepreneurs are the ones who have danced with real trouble in their life. Why? Why are they the best entrepreneurs? Because since David failed, I'm sure he's going to fail again. Let me give him a check for $5 million. Right? That's probably not what they're thinking. At least I hope that's not what they're thinking. It's because there's a skill set that you learn that once you go through these failures, that you can apply to other areas of your life. And as you get better and better with that, and the challenges that you then face, you can move through those. And that's really what I want to talk to you about here today. So this is obviously a topic of importance to me. It's a topic of importance to our company. And we talk about the areas of social intelligence. And one of the areas is mindset, about how our mind works and how our mind operates and understanding ourselves. So I want to talk to you about resiliency. We've spent about 2.5 years looking at all the research on resiliency. So what leads to resilient people? What are the skills that they have? What are the beliefs that they have? What are the competencies that they possess? And so we've taken that research, and we've actually compiled that into usable tools for both individuals and for organizations. And I want to share some of that with you here today. So if you think about resiliency, there's 3 areas, 3 big buckets that I'm going to share with you on resiliency. The first one is filter. So if you think about information comes at us all the time, what is it that we choose to do with that information that comes with us? We filter it. It enters our mind, and then we process it in different ways. So there's 3 characteristics in the area of filter that really matter to people in the area of resiliency. And those people that do these things well tend to be more resilient than others, is what all the research shows. So the first is personal responsibility. Do I believe I can control my own success, my own outcomes? Am I in charge or am I a victim? Personal responsibility. Second, realistic optimism. Not if I'm a pessimist. Not if the world's always great, nothing bad's ever going to happen to me, I'm Pollyanna-ish. But this is somebody who's actually looking at the world through an unfiltered approach, believing that good things will happen, but dealing with the facts that they have to do at hand. And the last one's personal beliefs. So personal belief is a belief in something that's larger than yourself. So personal belief might be something that's spiritual, could be something that's family belief, it could be about a cause like entrepreneurialism or about just the video, for example, that we watched, right? Those are strong personal beliefs, and those people that have them are also more resilient. Okay? Act. So it's not only about what happens in your mind, but what tools do you have and what do you do with it? So this is how you behave in the times of adversity and how do you respond to it. And so these elements are things that are more visible by other people. So if you look at things like self-assurance, so I think I can get through this problem. I think I can challenge it. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. Self-composure, when things are going bad, are you the one yelling fire, fire, fire? Or are you the one that's able to absorb that stress, maintain your faculties and control, and be able to execute what you need? Problem solving, right? One of the key tools, if you've got a challenge, what you've done is probably not going to work for you at this point because you got a challenge. What faculties or tools can you bring to the table around problem solving to look at things in a different way to move forward? And the last one's goal orientation. So goal orientation is around setting a goal. And so when you set a goal, your brain begins moving towards that process. It's always about not where you are. If you listen to a lot of the great stories today, it's about where did I want to get to and how people got to them. Other great examples. And the last one is, this isn't something you do alone for resiliency. So you interact with other people. And so there's two elements that are involved here. Courageous communication, I heard a number of the speakers talk about this today. They realized what was on their mind, and they started sharing it with other people. You heard the word honesty, you heard the word trust, you heard all those kinds of hard stories that came out. People that were out here telling their failure stories, courageous communicators, right? And the last one, social support. It's not that I'm getting a check from welfare. It's not what I mean by social support. It's not that I have 1,000 friends, but it means I've got 2 or 3 or 4 good peers, good confidants, people who know me better than other people know me, people that will tell me things about myself that I don't see, that'll help me through some times of crisis. Another key element. So those